Hey, Fight fans, it's Michelle Joy Phelps, and I am joined now with Behind the Gloves correspondent Jermaine, as well as Dillian Whyte'S head trainer, Javier Miller. You guys, thank you for getting on the call to discuss what is currently a heavy topic at the moment, given what's surrounding the situation with the WBC. Jermaine, thank you for even orchestrating the phone call. I know at one point we're going to have Dean White. We're also going to have Nick, is it Prempe, who is the corner man to Dillian Whyte. Javier, what's the current tone with the team right now? I mean, what's the vibe? I mean, it looks as if the fight's not happening next.
Well, listen, we're in good spirits. I mean, this is boxing. You never know what can happen. We're training for Tyson Fury. That's the fight. We all want next, and we're doing our part. We're a very close knit unit, and it's always just business with us. Regardless of what's going on, a boxer's job is to be in the gym and getting themselves ready, and that's always what we've been doing. I mean, that's what we've been doing since the time I've known Dillian. Dillian's always been a professional, so we're just doing what we have to do, and we just keep ticking over until it's time.
As of this morning, I was reading in one of the articles that there was now permission from the WBC for Tyson Fury to go ahead and fight someone else in March. How is Jillian sort of handling this? Because he's been waiting for 3 years now to get this world title shot.
Yeah, Jillian will handle it the same way he always has. It's never been an easy road for him. He's always had to do things the hard way. He's been doing things the hard way ever since I met him, and obviously I knew of Dillian and his journey before. And I don't think he'd have it any other way anyway. Boxing is a hard game, a hard sport. And, you have to be prepared for absolutely anything. I mean, you train really hard for a fight. You could be 10 weeks in and then, there's an injury and then, you've got to go away and start again. This is boxing. We're not the only team this happens to. If you want to be involved in the sport of boxing, you have to have thick skin. You have to be mentally very tough. And that's what we are as a team.
I haven't seen someone have such a series of unfortunate events, one after the other, when it comes to getting to this moment. Everyone seemed excited. It seemed as though that it was going to happen because the WBC said it must happen next. I just want to know, I know you guys are you have no choice but to sort of accept what it is at the moment. You guys are going to have a court hearing in March, but how do you not allow that to frustrate you guys, given that, like Eddie Hearn said, why not let it go to purse bids?
Well, I think, listen, this is what you have to do in this sort of situation. You just keep going. You have to keep going to work regardless of what happens. I mean, there's no point anybody being frustrated now at this moment. It's been a frustrating journey from the beginning. And it's not just Dillian. It's a lot of boxers have to deal with this sort of thing. That's just, I mean, what goes on behind closed doors needs to remain behind closed doors until an official announcement's been made. I haven't got anything new to report. This is just what's been going on. I mean, even with the pandemic, in the last couple of years, it's been very hard for people in boxing, full stop. I mean, full credit to guys like Eddie Hearn, who keeps putting on shows. Warren, whoever, these big promoters, they even behind closed doors, they kept putting on big shows so these guys can continue to get paid. But that's what boxing's about. I mean, what would people have preferred, to be sitting on the shelf for 2 years? You'd rather go out and box. So, it's just one of those things. And as soon as I hear any news, I mean, everybody seems to hear the news at the same time these days anyway. It's not like it was before in my time with boxing. I mean, there was no discussions about contracts and so on and so forth, on social media. It's when the fans know, they know. In this day and age, it's like everyone seems to know what's going on all at the same time. It's hard to keep anything from anybody these days because everybody wants to know, and then everybody wants to report the news first. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, honestly, I don't have anything new to bring. All I know is that we just got to get ready, and fingers crossed, it will be the fight that we want. I don't see the point in Tyson Fury really having another fight. I mean, it wasn't that long ago that he boxed anyway. And he has had a couple of tough fights. I don't understand why they'd want to do that anyway. And the kind of fighters they're talking about fighting doesn't really make that much sense to me. You know, you got your number one contender ready to go. That's what should be happening next.
Jermaine, would you like to?
Hey, Jav, have you and your team looked at the possibility that you might have to fight someone else? So have you been looking to, obviously you said that you're planning, you've been fighting, you're looking to fight Tyson Fury next, and that's the plan, and that's what you've been preparing for. But has there been any doubt in your mind that you might have to look elsewhere for an opponent to face next for Dillian?
If that happens, Jermaine, honestly, if that happens, it happens. You know, fighters want to be active. If that happens, it happens. You know, that'll be up to Dillian and his team. When I say team, you know, Dillian has, you know, his advisors. You know, we're a coaching team. You know, we get the phone call and are told what's going to be happening next. You know, Dillian has a team to deal with those things. So if that's going to be it, that's going to be it. Then we'll look at another opponent. But right now, my focus is we've worked this hard to get here. You know, Dillian got himself back in position with that great win over Povetkin. You know, and really we should be next in line. That's what should be happening. So really, that's the only vocal point. That's the only talking point at the moment as far as we're concerned. What everyone else is doing outside of that, we can't really get too involved in that. You know, this is the business, and that should be happening next. He shouldn't really be able to do anything else, to be honest with you. He should, if he wants to really be boxing anybody else, and he should be looking to vacate then. That's what should be happening. But like I said, boxing, strange game.
We just did a team Zoom call where we discussed the topic. We sort of rinsed every option possible in regards to what's happening at the minute. And Joe Ankier actually asked a question that I can't answer, and I'm hoping that maybe you could give us some insight, was when she said that the arbitration court date is scheduled for March. We know that Tyson Fury wants to fight by March, no later than March, she said, right? Is there no way that the WBC could move that date up? Is there not an option to have the date sooner so that we could actually try to get the fight made between the two of them?
In my experience, legally, I don't think that's possible. Once it's arbitration, then, you know, that's law, that's set. Doesn't mean to say things can't be going on behind the scenes while it's going on. That's why Tyson Fury is maybe looking elsewhere. You know, but the rules are the rules. I mean, once that's set, that's it. So either way, we're gonna get a shot at the WBC title, and that's what makes me happy. You know, that finally Dillian's gonna get his shot because he worked so hard to get there. So, you know, no one needs to panic. Nothing happens before it's time. It is what it is.
Tyson Fury had said, you know, he knows a thing or two about how arbitration can go and how long it could actually draw out. And I think that's one of the concerns is, you know, if they do wait till March, let's say, and nothing is decided by that point, it can continue to draw out. And as you know, inactivity is the worst thing for a fighter. Are you guys pretty secure in knowing that is an answer going to be given by March, or is that like the first hearing you're having in regards to what's happening?
I think on their end, honestly, I don't really like talking too much about the other team, to be honest with you, because they're doing what they're doing, but they say a lot of things. Tyson says a lot of things. Like, every day it's something different. I don't follow what this guy says, honestly, because I don't think he knows what he wants to do next. You know, the guy is just a bit different, a bit strange. But this is what promoters do anyway. Frank will say what he'll say whatever he wants to say. Then Bob will say whatever he has to say. But at the end of the day, in a few weeks' time, the rules are going to be set anyway. So they can play this game what they want. Like I said, all I focus on is just training. You know, when it's time to push that button, we're ready to go. And that's what we're looking forward to. I mean, they know that this is a very, very dangerous fight for Tyson Fury. I mean, but it's going to happen anyway. It's going to happen.
What do you make of and mind you, Jermaine, if you ever want to chime in, by all means, I don't want to take over, but what do you make of the fact that people are saying that Jillian is completely outbidding himself and he's not worth $10 million?
This is, I mean, listen, if there was no talking points, there'd be nothing to talk about. There's always going to be something. I mean, listen, it's supposed to be a fair split. Yeah, do a fair split, we do the fight. You know, Dillian's been around long enough. He knows exactly what he's doing. His team knows exactly what they're doing. You know, he will get what he's deserved. You know, and as soon as we get a shot at that title, we win that title, then, you know, sky's the limit. Mm-hmm. You know, we'll be looking to defend and go on for a while. You know, Dillian is, you know, he's boxed so many good fighters now that this is the best time possible for him to challenge for a world title. He's seasoned, ready, in his prime. And, you know, there's not a star he hasn't come up against. You know, he's been around a long, long time. You know, it's not just what you do in your fights, you know, it's inspiring. He's been, like I said, he's been in the game so long that, you know, he's so ready. And I just can't wait to get a shot at this title, you know. It's what we've been waiting for a long time.
Jav, so, I know obviously we've known each other for a while now, and how big would it be? How big of achievement would it be for you to get this title shot and to win it with Dillian?
Oh yeah, I mean, honestly, this has all been. I mean, Nick will tell you when he comes on. You know, that's my business partner, the other head coach at the gym. You know, this is all, as far as we're concerned, this has all been scripted. You know, from the time, you know, I started coaching, from the time I had that long run in the amateurs, you know, all the pros that I've worked with, you know, this has all been in prep for this. You know, we saw this coming a long, long time ago. Like I said in previous interviews, people are only talking, mentioning my name now. I've been around a lot longer than a lot of people, but I decided, you know, I was advised to take my time and spend as much time, you know, in the amateurs as possible, and work with as many pros as possible. But I've actually done it the long way and the hard way, you know, through the amateurs, small circuit, then TV. You know, I'm not one of those guys who someone's just picked up and you know, they just because they're working with a fighter that's well known, they're thrusted into the spotlight. No, I've been around a hell of a long time. Mm-hmm. You know, so, you know, Dillian knows what it is. You know, he's a smart guy. He knows I know my stuff. He's seen the fighters that I've got, the fighters that I've built from scratch. And again, you know, coaches should be judged on who they built. You know, you don't just get guys that are already good fighters through the GB system or have already been world champions. You know, I'm building guys that actually walked in a boxing gym that have never boxed before, and now you're seeing them perform. So, you know, we're more than ready on all sides. And obviously with the addition of Harold Shadow Knight, a lot of experience with Lennox Lewis, you know, we've got a very good team. And Magic's been around Dillian for a long, long time. One of the best hand wrap guys in the business, one of the best cutmen in the business. So, you know, great team along with Alan's side. So yeah, we're happy.
Are you guys possibly looking at like the silver lining to the situation, which could be, for example, we know at this point that the undisputed fight is constantly being discussed, right? So there's the chance of whoever Tyson Fury ends up fighting next, the following fight is going to be the winner of Usyk versus Joshua, right? We know that's coming. So would you look at that from the perspective of, well, hey, if it plays out this way, we get the winner of the undisputed?
Listen, the main thing is now is that we're in the game. You know, once the WBC ordered that we're going to get that shot at the title, we're now in the game, and that's the most important thing, is to work this hard to get there. Mm-hmm. Obviously, that's a dream to be involved in an undisputed heavyweight championship fight. I mean, that's just
lining, right?
That's major, and especially if it's two UK guys as well. I mean, you can imagine. I mean, Michelle, you've been around a long time. You've seen the kind of events that Eddie puts on. Yep. Massive stadium fights. Of course, that's a dream. Right. And that's what you want. You want to make history. You know, Lewis v. Bruno was a great fight. There's just something special about these big UK fights, you know, like Eubank, Ben. There's just something special about them. I'm just really looking forward to it.
Right. Jermaine, do you want to?
Yeah, I echo that. That's what you just said. UK fights. I live just right at Wembley Stadium, just behind me right now. If you're from the area as well, you know what it'd be like to have 90,000 plus fans in the stadium.
Wembley. That's
All
just
British heavyweight title fight. We haven't seen since 1993. Obviously, Lewis Bruno will be something amazing.
That would be amazing. Like I said, and the way people are talking now recently about this, about Khan and Brook. Listen, this is going to be a great fight. It's going to be a great fight. I don't know. I know everyone keeps going about, it's taking too long to make it and so on and so forth. But like I said again, you have to know your boxing history. The Hearns and Leonard rematch was brilliant. Both guys are past their prime, but when two guys have had a lot of experience and they're, just past their prime, but they're still very competitive, and both guys seem to always fight the top caliber guys. So you don't even know what they've actually got left at this level. I think it's going to be a fantastic fight. It's a fight I definitely want to go to. And, I'm a massive fan of Kell Brook, but also, I respect Khan. So it's going to be a great fight.
I mean, since you just brought it up, like, who do you see winning that fight?
I'm a big fan of Kell. I do like Kell Brook. I thought it was amazing him traveling out there and beating Sean Porter. I mean, that's history. Doing something like that is major. But Khan, Khan's beaten a lot of good guys. Collazo, Maidana. Khan, they only seem to talk about his losses, but he's got a lot of good wins against good guys. So yeah, it's hard. It's a toss up, and even at their primes, it's 50-50. Now past their primes, it still looks like 50-50. It's a great fight.
Why do you think, Jermaine, I'm curious to know your thoughts on this too, but why do you guys think it didn't happen sooner? Because everyone has an opinion about that. Everyone seems to believe one was ducking the other. So who do you think was, I guess, the problem, the holdup on why the fight didn't manifest sooner? Because when you do follow the timeline, right, from the beginning, it was always like, well, you need to get a world title. Well, then you got a world title. Well, then you need to do this. Well, then you need to do that. And then it was like constant hoops that it seems as though Kell had to jump through to get a shot at Amir, because Amir was the bigger name. He was the bigger draw. And so Amir sort of baited that with him, and he knew that. But then there came a time where it's like there were no reasons why the fight could not happen. And then
crazy.
Here we are, and it still didn't happen. And now, I mean, I'm not going to lie. I'm not trying to sound like a Debbie Downer, but until they weigh in, I'm not gonna, I still cannot wrap my head around the fact that the fight is still going to go on. So until those guys weigh in, I'm like, all right, the fight's happening.
No, that fight's going to happen, because there's just too much money on the table for both guys. To me, now's the time. I mean, I think before, maybe one guy thought they were the A side. Maybe that's why they were putting demands on the other guy. But I think right now, I think it is genuinely 50-50. I don't know what the split was, but to me, both fighters have done great things in their career. I mean, like I said, Khan's beat a lot of good guys, but Kell with that win over Porter, I mean, to me, that's a massive, massive win against one of the best guys around. And has proved to go on to be one of the best guys, best welterweights. So, I think it's just the right time.
And again, not to dismiss their victories, their wins, and their accolades, but they have the highest, I guess, the biggest accolades of their records have been years ago. We're not talking about 6 months, even a year ago. So there's that argument of people not really knowing who's going to really step up and win that fight. Because I think at one point, you always would hear back 2, 3, 4 years ago, oh, Khan's going to beat Brook because he's got the speed and he, and he's more active, right? Because that was always the argument. He was more active. But then, Kell's got the power and Khan's got a suspect chin. So there was all of that. But now we really don't know what to expect, because neither one of them, aside from, I want to say, the Terrence Crawford fight, which was ended controversially, we really haven't seen either one of them in with high-level opposition in quite some time.
Yeah, but I mean, both guys, honestly, they've always fought some of the best guys around. To be fair, I mean, Kell jumping up 2 weights to fight Golovkin. I mean, I was at that weigh-in, And I couldn't believe the difference in size between the two. I thought this is actually this is a crazy fight. It doesn't make no sense to me. Kell looks so much more smaller than Golovkin, but he went in there and he gave everything. You know, he landed some good shots on Triple G, and you know, and again with Khan, you know, Khan's box Canelo. I mean, like I said, his CV is hot as well. I mean, box Danny Garcia, but these guys, they always seem to be doing really well early in the fights. But you see, the guys they're boxing are just obviously a level or two above them. And that's why it seems to change, like, you know, from the midway onwards. I mean, even Kell's fight against Crawford, he looked very sharp early. I mean, he landed the jab regularly. I mean, he was doing really well early until he got clipped. You know, Khan was doing really good against Canelo early until Canelo caught up with him. So the quality and the caliber of both guys is evident. It's there. That's why I think putting them together makes a lot of sense at this stage in their careers, and seeing, you know, who really is going to come out on top, and the bragging rights for that fight is going to be crazy.
Yeah.
It's also, obviously, both of them have a massive fan base over in the UK. We've seen
do.
straight away. I think the tickets sold out in 60 seconds, apparently. Yes, apparently I think it was under an hour. Tickets sold out completely. So that just shows you how big this fight still is.
Right.
That fight could have been 5 years when that still would have been big. I mean, we would have loved to see it 5 years before now, but it's still a major fight. Major fight.
But you're always going to get that argument, aren't you? Like, look when Mayweather fought Pacquiao. Everyone was like, oh, it should have happened 4 years ago. I mean, look at the event that it ended up being. People still want to see these grudge matches. Like, these
no
are
doubt
guys who genuinely hate each other.
Yeah, we're all guilty. We can't let go of the past. As boxing fans, we just can't. You know, if Floyd Mayweather said today he's going to come back, then the whole boxing world would stop. We can't let go of the past. And look when Tyson was making a comeback. You know, this is what happened when these guys, you know, they gave us so much that we wanted to come back like past their prime, but you know, they're just icons in the sport, and we just love to see them.
Right. Well, when we were talking about, you mentioned, you know, there's always going to be the A side to situations, and you know, that there's always that carrot sort of dangled, because when someone is in the position to be able to do that, they're able to, finagle their way into getting what they want. They're the A side. In the situation with Dillian Whyte and Tyson Fury, obviously Tyson being the A side, do you agree with the 80-20 split that they're trying to offer? Is in your opinion, obviously you guys are still asking for a flat rate of 10 million plus a percentage. Were you guys okay with the 20%? Do you feel that was fair?
I don't know all the details or the ins and outs because I don't get involved in that. But to be honest with you, that's an insult. That's an insult. I mean, it's not a voluntary defense where you can just go away and just negotiate what you want. He's number one. Like, you know, there's rules that should be followed. I mean, Tyson Fury is not exempt from them rules. So, you know, whatever's going to happen is going to happen. But, you know, you've got to come, you know, with a reasonable offer, reasonable discussion, or else it's going to cause problems, you know. These guys, they have to understand, you know, with boxing, I mean, there really needs to be like almost like one governing body governing everything. So you can't just get away with offering these crazy splits. I mean, like I said, if it's a voluntary, it's a different conversation. You're giving someone an opportunity. They kind of got to take what they get. But this is not that kind of situation. I mean, somebody fought hard to get here, get to number one, and you know what the split is, you know, for a challenger, and that's the way it is. And Dillian's a smart guy. He knows what he's doing.
There also needs to be, and I know Jermaine, I think we were sort of briefly talking about this in the last call, was there has to be some sort of, you know, I guess this common ground, this common understanding that all the sanctioning bodies are going to operate pretty similarly. You know, we're seeing guys who are mandatories for 2-3 years, and in other cases, you get, for example, the IBF going, you're either going to fight them or you're going to vacate. Like, what are you going to do? So sometimes it doesn't make sense. And I think that's what frustrates fight fans, right? Because it's like, why were they able to make that one happen? Why did they force it to happen? But this sanctioning body isn't forcing it the way that they should.
Exactly. But this is what I'm saying. This is what I'm saying is there's no point getting like almost getting frustrated because we know what it is. Like, you know, you just have to just stay ready and just deal with the business because this is always going to happen. Like, this has been happening for years. I know someone that was rating the WBC for a long time and like they were number one. They couldn't get a title shot. I'm not going to say their name, but like I said, I personally know them and exactly what was going on during that time.
Right.
You know, it's around the late 90s, like early 2000s. You know, this has been going on. You know, these governing bodies really need to get together and start. I mean, even the rankings. I mean, you'll have like the WBC will have their ranking, and then the IBF will have theirs. It's just it's a complete opposite to, and it doesn't make any sense because these guys, you know, it should be based on the caliber of the opponents that you've boxed. You know, it should really be like a point system. Mm-hmm. And these guys, it should be straightforward. Like who is 1 to 5 is 1 to 10. It should be simple. Mm-hmm. Just like with the splits, you know, once it's a number one contender, it should be straightforward. There shouldn't be any arguments. Obviously, I know you've got the ins and outs. You know, you're talking about a cut of this and a cut of that. That's fine, but the actual purse should be straightforward. It shouldn't be complicated.
So, have you just mentioned about the rankings?
Mm-hmm.
Do you think if Dillian was high up on the IBF or WBA's rankings, that he probably would have took an alternative route to become the world champion and went down the line of fighting for one of those belts?
Honestly, got no idea. Obviously, since I've been involved with Dillian for the last 2 years, it's always been about the WBC. So I don't know if there is any discussions of doing that beforehand, but this has always been the focus since I've been involved with Dillian was, listen, you know, we want a WBC title shot.
Like, sorry, don't interrupt you, but it was because it always seems like, okay, it is going to happen next. Okay, it is going to happen next. Okay, it is going to happen next. And then the next thing you know, you're 3 years down the road and you're like, shit, this still hasn't happened. Right? Mm. And then the most heartbreaking was when we witnessed him lose to Povetkin in the first fight, and you just thought, well, goddamn, like, all that, he continues to take challenge after challenge after challenge. He's not even fluffing up his record. He's not even giving himself a break. He's keeping himself constantly tested, prepared, I like to say, prepared, because you want to fight good level opposition to prepare yourself for when the time comes to fight the champion. But it was just constantly like, it was just heartbreaking. I remember watching that moment and just thinking, shit, there goes the title shot that he's been.
Well, it's almost like a throwback mentality. I mean, obviously the era that I'm in love with is like the 80s, 90s, you know, but these guys fought good competition, like, you know, on a regular basis. But what it did, it made them complete fighters. You know, you've got to keep fighting good guys. And even my guys coming up now, obviously I've had quite a few of my guys, I've actually had them through the amateurs, and they're turning pro now. But, you know, I'm saying the same thing to them, is that, you know, I don't take easy fights for them, because to me, it's character building. You know, I want them to get good fights. So when they do eventually get a shot at a European title, world title, you know, they're well prepared for it. You know, I'm not interested in fighting guys you can just knock over in 1 or 2 rounds, because to me, you don't learn anything. You know, you've got to go through these hard fights, you know, because otherwise there's no way you're going to be prepared for that moment. You want to be as best prepared as possible. And that's exactly what Dillian's done. You know, he's made sure he's boxed good guys, so he's best prepared.
So I'm pretty sure neither one of us can answer this question, but I have to ask it. Because I don't understand why it's different for one and not for the other. So when Tyson Fury was caught up in arbitration with Deontay Wilder, he was not allowed to fight anybody else. Right? He was not allowed whatsoever, because they needed to have the outcome of arbitration be known before they can make the next move. I know they were planning ahead in hopes that arbitration went in their favor.
Yeah.
So what makes this situation different? Why isn't it being held out till March for it to be decided?
Well, that's exactly what we're talking about earlier with the consistency from all the governing bodies and the rules and regulations. Then you see, you made a very good point. This is the argument, but obviously they're going to say, well, you know, we had a signed contract for the trilogy, but really there isn't any difference. you've gone to arbitration, you should really be able to do anything else. Should be simple, but again, lines are blurred. And this is why, you know, boxing fans and people in boxing generally get frustrated sometimes, because this shouldn't be happening. But like I said, nothing surprise. When you've been around as long as I am, I'm like an old man in boxing. There's nothing that can surprise me. I've seen a lot, even from a young age when I used to be at different gyms, you know, around the world. You know, I was the guy that was in the corner just watching and observing, and I've seen and heard a lot of things. Like it's just nothing surprising in boxing.
Yeah, we mentioned that. I want to ask you, Jav, do you think there's some sort of agenda against Dillian? Because the way he's been treated over the years, a lot of British boxer fans probably think there's some sort of agenda from the WBC towards him. Do you think that might be true or not?
I don't like getting into those sort of discussions, to be honest with you. Like, I think a lot of boxers at times are treated unfairly, but the fighters know exactly what it is. You know, it's part of the game. It's part of the game. Like, you know, and again, either you're built for it or you're not. You know, I always say to the guys in my gym coming up, you know, I said, you know, sometimes, you know, watch Dillian, the way he maneuvers and handles his affairs, and, you know, not just the training, but the business side of the game as well. He's watched carefully, because you have to know how to handle yourself. Otherwise, you know, you get caught cold. You know, you've got to understand exactly what it is that you're involved in. And it doesn't matter what work you're actually involved in. You know, you have to understand the business. That's the most important thing, is to understand what you're involved in. You know, and Dillian he's one of those guys that he knows exactly what it is, and he's always just kept himself ready and stayed positive. And he's got positive people around him. You know, I always say to him, let's just focus on training. You know, he can't wait to get in there. You know, we just want to work. We enjoy what we do every day. You know, fight night is just, you know, that's you know, we've done all the hard work. Fight night is what it is, but we just love to be in the gym every day.
Currently, where is Dillian? Is he taking some time off right now? Is he currently, you know, in training?
No, we're always training. All my fighters, we're always training. I mean, we just come from the gym about 3-4 hours ago, just training Yusuf Kamari. And obviously be planning what we're going to do with him next as well. But we're always in the gym. You know, I just spoke to K Prosper like yesterday. He's in the gym. He's in Luton. So all my guys are ticking over and staying ready.
Right. Keeping prepared. Well, thank you so much for your time. We were going to wait for the two others to join, but they have not joined just yet. So I think we've pretty much covered all of the topics that we, that we wanted to talk about. But I wish you guys all the best, honestly, and I sincerely mean that. I have continued to vocalize how much I'm rooting for Dillian to have his world title shot. Like, I truly believe that he deserves it. Now, who will win? May the best man win. But he deserves his shot, and I hope that he gets that sometime soon. And hopefully, if it's not next, like I said, hopefully the silver lining is, well, then fine. If I don't get it, then I get the undisputed champion first out the gate. No one else, no other mandatory gets the shot but me. And who knows? Maybe that will be the case.
Stay positive. Stay positive. Big things are coming. And I always say nothing happens before its time. That's why I don't get frustrated. Yeah. Because I know when it happens, that's because it's supposed to happen at that time. So just stay positive.
You're right. What's meant for you will not pass you. So when it will happen, it will happen. Absolutely. Jermaine, do you want to say anything before we sign off?
I'd like to say, obviously, I hope you guys had a lovely Christmas, and I hope you guys have a better 2022. And Javin, I'm looking forward to seeing you and your fighters back out in the new year, and I wish you nothing but the best going into 2022.
Thank you very much, both of you guys. Have a good evening. Have a good new year. Looking forward to 2022.
Yeah. Happy New Year's, guys. Hey, Fight fans, it's Michelle Joy Phelps. Make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel by clicking this icon right here and hit the bell button below so that you can receive an alert every time we upload a new video.